let me move on to Sri Lanka. I think you all are pretty familiar with Sri Lanka because this has been an issue that has been much debated here, but just to summarize, 5 years ago when the long war with the Tamil Tigers ended, a very ugly war with atrocities on both sides, in the waning months, both the remnants of the Tigers as well as tens of thousands of civilians gathered in a tiny area along the beach, which was declared a safe area, which the Sri Lankan military proceeded to shell indiscriminately for months on end, killing an estimated 40,000 people in a massive war crime. The Rajapaksa government has proceeded to want to sweep this under the rug. They've been under pressure to do something about it. They've launched various pseudo commissions, which always come up with nothing. The bottom line is, here we are 5 years later, and nothing has happened domestically, and nothing's ever going to happen domestically so long as the Rajapaksas are in control, because they were the ones who ordered it. And they're not about to launch an investigation that implicates themselves. That is the situation that we face. And we have been at Human Rights Watch struggling with, how do we circumvent that? At the UN Human Rights Council, we initially made a mistake. We brought Sri Lanka to the Human Rights Council in a special session right as the war was coming to an end. And this was before we had kind of begun to turn the Human Rights Council around. And the council actually congratulated Sri Lanka on its wonderful victory over the Tamil Tigers and said nothing about the atrocities. It was a disaster. We came back, and with a lot of preparation, and I can get into this, but it basically involved a very active effort to reach out to democracies outside the West that were not voting in their foreign policies the kinds of human rights values that informed their domestic policies. We were able to build a pro-human rights majority sufficient for the last 2 years to urge the Sri Lankan government to conduct an investigation, knowing full well this wasn't going to happen, but this was a necessary prerequisite. And this year, finally establishing an international investigation because Sri Lanka had done nothing. Now, I bring this up here in Australia in particular because Australia has not been terribly helpful in this process. Australia is not on the Human Rights Council, but non-members can sponsor a resolution. Basically, all of Australia's closest allies did sponsor the resolution. Those who are on the council voted for the resolution. Australia wanted nothing of that. The resolution passed last week, and Julie Bishop, the foreign minister, actually came out afterwards and opposed it. And it was, in a sense, gratuitous. It had already happened. But she gave a statement saying, in essence, two things. One, I don't think something that, doesn't involve cooperation with the Sri Lankan government is a very good thing. As if, cooperating with these guys who are doing everything they could to block this investigation was going to ever do any good. And second, she said, and I object to the fact that the resolution didn't give adequate credence and recognition to the economic progress that is being made in Sri Lanka. As if economic development is an excuse for the murder of 40,000 people without any impunity. This is the Australian government's position. Now, why is that? We all know. They are completely blinded by the boats. And Sri Lanka is obviously a major source of the asylum seekers who are arriving by boat. And the Australian government, the current government, has taken the view that they are going to cozy up to Sri Lanka in an effort to get it to cooperate in stopping people fleeing by boat. This is an extraordinarily short-sighted approach because it ignores why people are fleeing by boat. They're fleeing because it wasn't just the 40,000 killed at the end of the war, it's the ongoing persecution. And just as David Cameron had showed up at the Commonwealth Heads of Government Council and made a point of going to the Tamil North and denouncing the abuses, this is the same time that Abbott went there and said things happen in the context of torture. This is not the way you change a government's behavior to undermine the reasons why people are fleeing. And it puts Australia in horrible company. I mean, even if you look in Asia, a series of governments that do not have any tradition of promoting human rights in their foreign policy, they at least abstained on the Sri Lanka resolution. So, Indonesia, India, Philippines, Japan abstained. Australia comes out against it.